Hello there, welcome back to Morning Express. We are happy that you've chosen to be with us this morning. It is time for Friday Chat. I was just looking during the break at some of my messages on Twitter, and Amos Wafula Makoha, you're not too happy with me. You say, Sophia, and it just sounds like you're angry. Yesterday, you didn't play Fitness Thursday. Why? Okay, yes, it was supposed to air. We're sorry about that. It's because The Defender was a live event at the Capital Club, so we aired that live, and that is why it did not air. But we will be having those going forward. So we're sorry about that, Amos. But I hope you usually work out with us, and you did get to still work out, even though we didn't have Fitness Thursday. And by the way, towards the end of the show, I'll be telling you about some of the different stuff to expect here on out from Morning Express starting Monday next week. Now, to my guest this morning, I introduced him earlier as a dynamic man, because from being a journalist then to being an assistant ambassador representing Israel here in Kenya, then to getting into the corporate world, agribusiness no less, and coming up with some really fabulous campaigns to get young people roped into farming and agriculture, and also music, and not just English but also Kiswahili is in there, and here's a song he did featuring one of our local artists, Wendy Kimani. So I'll tell you his name. Of course, you'll perhaps also see it on the video. Genius, play for us.
Benzie, won't you come inside? You don't have to hide your love.
UNAJUA.
UNAJUA. Hey.
How are you?
I'm good.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.
That is beautiful.
Thank
Where did you learn
you.
Swahili?
Here, I live here.
You lived here?
Yeah.
For how long?
For on and off 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll get to UNAJUA and the song and how that came up. It's a beautiful song.
Thank you.
But GILAD with us in studio today, and yours has been an interesting journey. You're not Kenyan. Talk to us about where you're from and growing up, what it is you wanted to do.
Well, I'm Israeli. I am from Jerusalem. I'm a diplomat's son, so I grew up moving every 3 years. Germany, London, New York, Turkey. So there's never like any home.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's home is where your family is. And at the end of 3 years, you know, you're moving again, new school, new friends, new all of that.
Yes.
So I grew up around the world, and Kenya is the place where, except for Israel, of course, where I've stayed the longest. And right now, this is home completely. I feel, you know, I feel at home here completely.
So growing up, you're moving up and about everywhere around the world, schooling. What is it you thought you'd become? What is it you wanted?
I wanted to be a diplomat, pretty much like my dad. That was always direction I thought of. I always played around with music. So I was, you know, I sang in a boys' choir as a kid. I had a band in high school. I had a band when I was in my early 20s for about 3 years in Israel. Played Jerusalem rock. But it was always, and kind of still is, a hobby.
Yeah.
So it's something I love to do. But professionally, I wanted to be a diplomat. I was at one point. I was posted here at the embassy, and then I was posted in Los Angeles, and then left the government and came back here, moved, and changed around.
But before you got into diplomacy, you were a journalist.
For a little while, for about 3 years, I worked for Israel's Channel 2 News, which is the biggest news station in Israel. And I was foreign desk, so I was doing voiceovers, you know, writing for the anchors and voiceovers in terms of stories, my own. And just
you didn't like it much?
No, I loved it.
Oh.
No, it was fascinating. Are you kidding? And just at the height of, you know, when I started doing my own stories as a reporter, 9/11 happened. So they needed someone young and eager who's willing to sleep in the news to get it done.
Yes.
So I pretty much did that. I had a, you know, baby kid, and my son was then like a year old and 2 years old, and so we lived not far from the news. I basically moved there and just did stories as much as was needed, you know, to get ahead. And I was in the news for after the war in Afghanistan. I still covered that, and then was accepted to the foreign ministry. The cadet course of the foreign ministry in Israel is like the pilot's course of the army. It's the, you know, it's hard to get in. So you get in like 20 out of 3,000. So you don't say no. Yeah. And of course it's what I'd wanted. So I was a spokesman for a while, and as a spokesman, I came to Kenya in 2002. I was a spokesman for the Kikambala bombing, for the rescue teams that came. 3 months later, I was appointed here as deputy ambassador. And,
so at least you'd been here before?
I'd been here first time in 1996 with my then girlfriend, backpacking. And we came back from here, and I proposed. We got married after, you know, I proposed after we returned from Kenya.
Here after you returned from
We got back to Israel from Kenya, and bought a ring and said, I'm going to wait 2 months, and then that evening I proposed.
Did Kenya add something to the love?
For sure, for sure.
Okay, so you come diplomatic world, you are deputy ambassador for how long?
I was here for about close to 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And then was posted to Los Angeles. So consulate, head of PR in Los Angeles is Hollywood. You work with Hollywood. There's a lot of, Israel interest in Jewish Hollywood and things like that. So got to see a lot of the glitz and glamour and, things like that. And really enjoyed the work, but constantly missed something Kenya. So, every summer they give you a plane ticket for the family to come home to Israel.
Yeah.
So my wife and kids would go to Israel and I would come back to Kenya, safari friends, and stuff like that. And eventually, 3 years later, I met the MD of Amiran in Los Angeles, offered me, an extreme change in life, leave the government, which nobody really does.
Yeah.
Security work, the tenure of work in government is forever. But leave the government, and we came here, we moved here. That was 2008. Haven't looked back for a second, and this is home.
Yeah. So when he proposed, what is it he offered and asked you to do for Amiran?
At the time when I came back, basically to open up an area of Amiran which was to look at the food security issues, to use the agriculture professionalism of Amiran and the Israeli expertise. And Amiran is one of the biggest companies, agriculture companies in East Africa. And so to take that and to take it towards food security. Amiran had done the flower sector. Kenyan flower sector is #1 in the world. That was the business focus at the time still.
Yeah.
And then to move that towards food security, small-scale agribusiness. Today, 7 years later, we went into things like farming is cool with Giuliani. We got the youth involved. We have loans, for youth and stuff like that. It's my passion, big time. To get to work and to see that you can talk to youth somewhere and convince them, and then they do it, and then they meet you 2 or 3 years later, and they're like, they've got money, they've done well and they're into business.
And that's you with Giuliani.
Giuliani and I have become really, really, really close friends, okay? And that was at the launch of the UNAJUA video. So he came, Giuliani's like Mr. Humble, yeah? So he came and he introduced me at the launch of our video. With Wendy, Wendy's absent, Wendy is in Holland.
Yes.
So throughout everything we've been doing, I keep telling everybody, send a tweet at Wendy Kimani, hashtag Wendy come home. If anybody ever wants us to see, to see us sing this song live, yeah? Yeah.
Okay, so it's beautiful because, and somebody would wonder then what your background is in terms of your educational background, because here you are, you get from journalism, you move into the diplomatic world, then you go into agriculture, food security type. So what is your background?
I'll tell you one thing though, when you say, go into agriculture, there are experts at Amiran who've made a 25-year career of knowing irrigation and knowing agriculture. I'm in development, I'm in PR, so I think one of my more impact sides is the image of agriculture.
Okay.
To make it attractive so people are willing to look, yeah? So people are willing to take a closer look. Giuliani made so many people take a closer look, at what's available to them.
Yeah.
My education is, I studied political science at Hebrew University in Jerusalem. But I'm a big believer that experience is the best teacher.
Is the best teacher.
So, I was a journalist for a while. So I saw this side of the camera. I was a government spokesman for a time. So I, spoke that side of the camera.
Yes.
I really enjoy what I do. And then most recently, with the release of UNAJUA, so for the last 4 months, life has become, it's gotten another interesting twist.
Music has taken over almost.
Not taken over at all, no, God forbid. And if my boss is watching at Dalton, not at all. I'm working full time.
Yes.
But it's to be able to write a song and then for people to see it. So that UNAJUA video you just showed has 50,000 likes, on YouTube. So of course there are artists who have millions and millions and millions of likes and followers. But 50,000 people saw UNAJUA, that's so awesome. That's so cool. And people are sending, these really wonderful messages on Twitter, Instagram, things like that. And then recently now, so I never thought to release a first song, but now that there was a first one, I released a second one.
A second one.
Just last week with Alex and Jalango on Radio Maisha.
Yeah.
Sema Milele.
Sema Milele. And you'll sing that for us. But before we come back to music, which we'll focus a little bit more on, this is your brainchild. The Farming is Cool. What informed that?
Actually, the concept, the phrase itself, farming is cool, was said by Caroline Mutoko in an interview that I did with her like 7 years ago. And as we're talking about agriculture, she said farming is cool. And that sentence stayed in my mind.
Yeah.
It took another year or two to come up with this idea that by explaining to youth in Kenya are sharp, okay? Youth in Kenya are fast, they're ambitious, they're uncorrupted, they're computerized, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, things like that, Snapchat, things I'm not even, I don't even understand yet, yeah? And they're not even interested in agriculture because their parents didn't do well as farmers. And yet what's available to them and what's available to their parents is apples and oranges, yeah? It's completely different. Technology of today is not the technology that was available then. But they see agribusiness as something to be done by the old when you retire, something to be done to survive when you're hungry. And we want them to see, I know it's a business. You can do a business plan, get into it now and there's a return on investment in X amount of time, second season, third season, it's a science and it can be done professionally. And Israeli agriculture is based on the size of Israel, which is tiny.
Yes.
Kenya is 26 times the size of Israel, yeah? So everything is based on small plots of land. So it's very controlled and very doable. And I think our biggest contribution is packaging it all into the side of also working with the farmers, holding their hand and so on. So the young farmers, once they agree to take it on and look at it, they are the ones who are the best.
And so someone watching you right now and saying, okay, I'm sold, how do I get started?
Call Amiran, or that's the best answer I can give you. I work for Balton. Today I don't work for Amiran. I work for the group that owns Amiran. So I work the same, with the same way I work with Amiran in Kenya, I work with our companies in Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Zambia, Ghana, and Nigeria. So today the Farming is Cool initiative, born in Kenya, yeah, and tested in Kenya over 6 years, has been launched by the President of Zambia, by the Vice President of Tanzania, by the Ministers of Agriculture and Youth of Rwanda, and it's spreading. So this movement that the most available means of wealth creation in Africa is agriculture.
Yes.
I come originally from Israel. We have no land, we have no water, we have no farmers. Kenya's got tons of land, tons of water, and lots of farmers. And yet Israel's the biggest exporter, one of the biggest exporters of horticulture to Europe, and Kenya is still dealing with food insecurity.
So what is it about Israel? What do Kenyans need to learn?
I don't know that it's so much to learn as much as there's a gap to be filled. And that gap is knowledge, it's know-how, experience. When we did the farmer's kit from Amiran, we did it in 1,000 schools in Kenya and we did it in 300 polytechnics. So that's like 2 or 3 million Kenyan kids who see drip irrigation as that's agriculture.
Yeah.
The polytechnic students suddenly became the experience, the only experience we could draw from. We started hiring kids who had experience with the farmer's kit from the polytechnics. Remember, polytechnics are like kind of the lower level of college education, of higher education.
Right.
So people are not expecting to jump to corporate from there. But it was the only experience in the country that we could draw from. So knowledge, practical know-how, and technology. Quality inputs, it's science. You buy cheap seeds, you get cheap results. You buy good seeds, you get good results.
But also policy level. There's a lot that needs to happen at that, doesn't it?
Sure, but I mean, I work for government and I believe in government, and if you ask me whose job is it to bring water to the people, government. Infrastructure is government, roads, electricity, water.
It's government.
But the rest of what we're doing, I think it's great that it's private sector driven. I don't believe in sustainable development. Everybody says sustainable development. There's no such thing. There's only commercially sustainable development.
Okay.
If everyone involved is making money, the farmer, the market, the bank who is lending to the farmer, the companies like Amiran who are selling. Amiran, if would not have made a profit, would have not invested in all the research and development. So if everybody makes money, that will keep going around and that's sustainable.
Okay.
If you rely on donations and giving, it's not going to stay.
So are you farming yourself?
Me, actually we have a greenhouse at home.
Okay.
To be real honest, my wife did the training. She's the real farmer. I'm the PR guy. I walk in with
You're
my
the one
phone.
who gets everyone to farm.
I take a picture of the tomatoes and I tweet, and I tweet. And I eat the tomatoes, of course. Yeah?
And you eat them. All right, so that is great stuff you're doing in that front. But now music. So you're actually getting time with all of these things you're doing, traveling around Africa. Where do you get the time to do music?
First of all, the writing part of the music is in your head.
Yeah, you don't need
with
to
UNAJUA, which is musically very rare, I didn't sit down to a guitar or anything before. I had the song completely written in my head, including the music, and then I took it to a guitar just so I could have chords. But I heard the song in my head. UNAJUA was like that. Sema Milele is different. I went and
So wait, when you say you had the song in your head, how? What, you were seated and bound?
No. I mean, I've been in Kenya since I came back. About 4 years ago, I started singing with Calabash Band. So I've been performing with Calabash, like weekly live performances. And Calabash is a cover band. So we sing cover songs, a lot of Bob Marley, a lot of stuff like that. But also I sing covers. I like Ali Kiba, I sing Kidum, I sing Giuliani a little bit.
Yeah, so like you'll be with Kidum performing da-da-da-da.
No, I've not been with Kidum performing.
No.
With Calabash Band,
You have.
I'll sing Kidum's song. So I'll sing Haturudi Nyuma
Okay,
Kamwe.
but you've never
yeah.
done with...
I did it once with Kidum, yeah, after, but that's only recently when all the things are happening now,
Yes.
so suddenly it's interesting. But at one point I started playing around with writing. I had like a couple of sentences in my head. And you know, putting the Swahili together that it would work. You know, I mean, if I make a mistake in Swahili, people will say, okay, what are you doing?
And that was the first song you've written, is it?
I wrote music when I was younger, but the first song I wrote in, you know, like this, Swahili English.
Yeah.
The main influence, I think, the place where kind of I got the okay, that it's okay to write in Swahili and English, was Wahoo Sweet Love. When I came back to Kenya, 2008, yeah. When I came back in 2008, 2009, Sweet Love was all over the radio. And she merged Swahili and English, Swahilish,
Yes.
in this
Swahili.
really cool way, yeah? Ever since then, that's been playing in my head, you know, that you can do that.
So your music roots, you traced them back since you were younger? You
Always there's
knew
music
you
in the
could
family,
sing.
always.
Oh, yeah?
My brother's a guitar player, my grandmother was a piano teacher. Music is around us always, somehow.
So this song, you do it, did you imagine you would do it this well?
Never. I mean, I knew, I mean, I'm comfortable with the song. I sat, you know, with UNAJUA and held it close for 2 months before we released. Because Wendy's in Amsterdam, we didn't know how to go about the release. Eventually, I went to a working visit in Washington, and on the way back, met Wendy in Amsterdam. And I sat with her and I said, look, I really want to release the song. And let's do it old school. We don't need a video. Let's just release audio and see if people like the song.
Yeah.
And Wendy said yes, and 7th of April was the day we decided to release. And I'd already talked to a few friends, Jeff Koinange and a few others, to help me. I called Jeff and I said, listen, I'm a musician. You've known me for years, but you don't know. I know Jeff from the Kikambala bombing when he was Rasta CNN Jeff interviewing then.
Yeah.
And I said, you don't know this, but I'm also a singer. So I'm sending you the song. Tell me what you think. And if you like it, please show it support. And he sent out, you know, Smokin'. And the part of you know, putting the song together and releasing it myself, in my dreams, I didn't fantasize that people, in the places where the dreams where you don't tell anybody what you're dreaming, that's when I imagined, you know, people might like it this much, but it's amazing.
And the new song? Before
Sema Milele.
Yes.
Sema Milele I wrote for my wife.
Ooh, sing a little bit.
Sema Milele.
Yeah.
I'll know when I see you, nitaona in your eyes, and I'll know when I hear your voice. Kwa kweli, this is my choice. I'll be there when you're dreaming. Nitalala by your side, and I'll know when I see your face. Kwa kweli, this is my place. And
So you
on.
sang it to your wife?
No,
first?
I wrote it while she was, you know, completely sleeping, middle of the night, you know, sitting with the guitar. But I released it on our wedding anniversary, which was last week, which was our 18th wedding anniversary.
Wow. Are they living now with you here?
Yeah, we live here, of course. Currently, specifically now, she's in Israel. She's doing certificate, some training.
Yeah.
But yeah, we live here, of course. The kids are here.
Yeah.
I'm single dad right now until my
Until
my wife
she gets
comes
back.
Yeah.
So, final word. Young people watching, they're thinking, okay, that's quite a life you've been able to live, sort of like fluidly going from one to the other to the other. Many people will struggle to move from one level to this, or to combine what they do professionally with their love, which is for you music. So what do you say to them?
Yeah, follow your passions. Follow what really drives you. Don't go out to please anybody. Please, you know, follow your inner voice. There's an inner, you know, God light inside each of us.
Yes.
Stay connected to that, and don't try to climb mountains. Enjoy the journey. You know, there's no one mountain and you get there and it's done.
Yeah.
You know, there's no stage in life when you go, oh, okay, I reached that.
Finally.
I can stop life. You don't stop life.
You don't.
And life is a gift, and whether it comes in painful form or whether it comes in comfortable form, everything is meant to bring us to grow. And when you can see that and when you can enjoy that, you enjoy, you know, you give good energy out and you get good energy back.
Yeah, and you're good energy. It was nice meeting you.
And you, thank you so much
for being with us, Gilad. We wish you the very best. His Twitter handle is Gilad
Milo.
Milo as in M-I-L-L-O.
Yep.
And Gilad is G-I-L-A-D.
Yep.
So you can find him there. And where is it you post about what you're doing? You're on Facebook, your Facebook page.
I just started a Facebook page now, like 3 days ago. Because of like this wonderful request from people. So there's a Facebook page, Gilad, and there's Instagram, Gilad Milo, and there's Twitter @Gilad Milo.
All right.
And yeah, I'm in the car I'm tweeting all the time.
You're tweeting all the time. Yeah. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks so
much. Was a pleasure to meet you, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.
I'll hopefully also start farming at some point.
Come,
and I'll take pictures of tomatoes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, that's why we wrap the Friday Chat. Genius is standing by with some music to end the show for us. We thank you on behalf of the entire crew for watching today. If you're on KTN News, stay with us because the news is coming up in just a short while. And remember, Morning Express from next week has a slightly different format, so you don't want to miss our show on Monday. I'm Sophia Wanuna. Good morning.